And so that's where, through using those metrics, you can actually identify what the product or service's real market value is to the client versus what your own love value is
of it. So the other day I was reminded of some folks that we know that had their own business, and they're not in business anymore, unfortunately. But you know, they were really gung-ho, and I mean, they had everything together, like the studio and all the little accoutrements and
spent a lot of money renovating.
Yeah, renovating. Oh my gosh, yes, so much renovations. A huge investment. But you know, they didn't spend any time really like on their actual business.
Yeah.
They put all the time into the service and the product, and
and they thought that was going to save them. Yeah. That's something.
And then, you know, if you bring it, they will come.
That's right. They believe that lie. They watch the Field of Dreams movie. That's something that we see a lot, right? Like being in Athens, it's a college town, and so you get a lot of people they're creative people, like how I am and was especially, and they fall in love with something, whether it's food or fitness or whatever it is, and they're that classic technician where they're pretty good at what they do. Like those people, they're pretty good at the service they were offering. But then they refuse or don't realize, or they have blinders on, they don't even realize, they're like, wait, you're gonna be starting a business, different set of skills. And
you can't do everything you only like. Okay, so if you're like, you know, like, okay, take a hairstylist, somebody who's great at cutting hair, and they want to open their own business, you're not going to be spending like any of your time cutting hair.
Yeah.
If you have employees, ideally, if you're the owner, you shouldn't be. If you want to be good.
You should really get a job somewhere else.
Yeah, you should probably be an independent contractor or something.
Exactly. And that's where I think people fail to realize that, because they think that the love of the service of the product is what will make it better. But they don't realize that when they actually approach it like a business, they can use the business metrics. Like you mentioned surveying, when we're talking about
surveying clients, like to know that, like, I mean, if you're really gung-ho on a certain, like, we've done this before in our own facility, where it's like we've been gung-ho on certain programs and things, but then when we look at the numbers, when we survey our clients, it's like actually
the numbers
don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. And in a survey that's anonymous, you get some pretty honest
Usually your clientele isn't going to lie either.
And I think people are afraid to do that. People are afraid to survey.
Yeah, that's why you make it anonymous.
That's actually one of our tips for franchisees in one of those educational shops. Was survey your clients about maybe every quarter, or at least a few times a year.
Yeah, at least twice a year.
Yeah, because they're going to give you, when it's anonymous, they're going to give you good feedback on what you need to focus on. And so that's where, through using those metrics of, you know, revenue, like you said, what is costing more but not giving a return, not profitable, et cetera, you can actually identify what the product or service's real market value is to the client versus what your own love value is
of it.
I
don't want to let it go, even though it's not good for me.
Because if it's your hobby, go make it a hobby.
It's like a bad relationship. I mean, you know, it's like a bad relationship. It's like, oh, they cheat on me. I don't know where they are. They spend my money, and I'm like.
Sure. Unless you realize that it's not that type of relationship.
Exactly.
But yeah, and it's their hobby, and they need to leave it as their hobby.
Right.
Or they need to leave the relationship as, that's just my friend, that's not my spouse.
You shouldn't go into business of anything unless you have a primary love of business.
Or be willing to learn.
Or be willing to learn, exactly.
And realize that's
and secondary, the business you go into should be, it's good if it's a level of interest to you. That's secondary, but so many people are like, this is what I'm passionate. Going into business is like a level of interest to me.
Oh yeah.
But that's no good.
We've seen so many people crush it when they come into an industry because not of their love of the service or the product, but because of business, they crush it. And you know, obviously there can be extremes either way, but that's where, wouldn't you say, with our business, with our brand, it wasn't until we learned to step out of the love for fitness and boxing just a little bit, focus on the business metrics, and letting that determine the course, that things really started to take off.
100%.